Jimmy Kimmel was on Michelle Obama's podcast. If for some reason you missed it, Common Sense will get you caught up. Turns out Kimmel says he loves being funny and loves when the audience laughs.
Oh, yeah, every day. Every day.
Really?
Yeah, but I tend to lean into those things. Though, if something makes me nervous, I have to be talked out of it in a serious way.
Yeah.
I'm always more relaxed about it. And it really, that's why I was fired from all those other jobs, is because I always thought, oh, they'll think this is funny.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I was like, oh, they'll think this is funny. I'm like, I don't think they're going to think it's funny.
It's like, you're fired.
I'll give you an example of something terrible I did.
Yeah. Well, it's important for people to know that for some of these folks, this is a game. This is a hustle. You know,
more than
you would
not,
think,
I would bet.
because there's a lot, we saw it in the White House, especially around the holidays when there would be a set of people who would demonize my husband on TV and then be in line for a picture with their grandchildren, essentially saying, my granddaughter loves you. And, and it's like, if you believe the things that you believe, if I believe this about someone, I wouldn't be in the line. I wouldn't be in the house. So there's a lot of winking and nodding that goes on. It's like, and I think that does a disservice to the people who are following people. It's like,
Yes, Jimmy sat down with Michelle Obama and said something that triggered a lot of people on the internet. Have you noticed that since these allegations about this guy came out, he dropped out from Congress, Jimmy has not mentioned anything about him? This is someone Jimmy used to have on his show every single day. But now taking a look at this, Jimmy just told Michelle Obama that his critics need to stop telling him that his job is to be funny. I don't get it. He called himself a comedian. Then he's saying this. He then goes on to arrogantly brag that job is whatever he wants it to be, completely indicating that he doesn't work for the American people but for the powers that be in Hollywood.
Jimmy Kimmel was on Michelle Obama's podcast. If for some reason you missed it, Common Sense will get you caught up. Turns out Kimmel says he loves being funny and loves when the audience laughs. Problem is, Kimmel stopped being funny when he stopped wanting to be funny. And his audience laughs because his audience is prompted to laugh. So Kimmel gave up what he loves to go after what he hates, the president. And he will continue to go after the president because he thinks it's his job, saying, quote, don't tell me what my job is. That's coming from the guy who tells the president what his job is every night. And every night, Kimmel's big bias barometer is wrong. Nothing worse than a comedian who's unhappy, unfunny, and unhelpful. And if you doubt Common Sense, check the ratings. He's no Carson. But Kimmel says Johnny Carson would be doing the same thing, even though Johnny Carson said the opposite thing. Carson specifically said his job was not to pick sides and not to offend half the audience. Remember, Carson was one of America's great distractions during crises like Vietnam, Watergate, the Carter administration. Jimmy Kimmel says if he didn't say what he says, he would find it embarrassing. It's funny because Common Sense hears what he says and finds it.
And you have so bravely and boldly used your platform to speak truth to power, as they would say.
Well, thank you. I don't think of it as bravely, boldly maybe would be a good description, but to me, it just seems obvious and unavoidable, and I don't see that. I just can't imagine on those nights talking about anything other than what we are talking about, and I give a lot of credit to my colleagues for doing the same thing. I think it would be embarrassing if we didn't talk about this stuff. It would be shameful. Not that I think everyone has a responsibility to speak out, whatever, if you're comfortable doing that. But, my job, I've always said since the very beginning, even when I was on the radio, is to talk about what is going on in people's lives and what is going on in if you're doing local radio in your town, and if you're doing a national television show.
Someone replied to Jimmy, but he doesn't talk politics. If he did, he would mention Eric. He just preaches about Republicans. They speak truth to power. To power card, he tries to play simple. It doesn't work when he's clearly nothing more than a partisan mouthpiece. That is the simple truth. A lot of people expected Jimmy to actually talk against what this guy was doing. But like you can see, Jimmy did not mention anything.
Way. And to say that, well, your job is this, it makes me, I bristle at that because first of all, don't tell me what my job is.
Exactly.
You know, I don't tell you what your job is. My job is whatever I decide my job is, whatever my employer allows me to do. That's what my job is. And comedians have been doing this for a long time.
So true.
And, you know, from my generation, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, it just shows a great deal of ignorance when it comes to comedy to say, well, Johnny Carson didn't do this.
There is something really I've noticed with Michelle Obama. This is a segment that doesn't warrant her to bring in Obama's name. Everything about Michelle, she would like to center it around them. I don't know if you have noticed this. These conversations were something that I never expected. But as you watch, Michelle came in. You know, when I was in the White House, you know, there are people that used to talk against my husband. At some point, when they are taking pictures, they will come forward. Oh, my son wants to take a picture with you. Oh, my, you know, if I'm that kind of person, I will not really be in that location. That is what Michelle said. So you realize with her, she always like to focus back the attention to her, the family. What does that tell you? I've noticed this on all conversations. I put out a video yesterday of Michelle saying America under the Trump administration is now junky or what like that. This stir up a lot of reactions. Everybody is talking about that because they had to go back into the days of Obama. Like, why would Michelle even say this? People will criticize her. It became an issue of racism. Like, oh, she's a black, successful, and intelligent woman. Why would people start talking against what she said? They started bringing in comparison between Melania Trump and her.
And all she's doing is speaking her mind right now. And the trouble that Republicans have, and the trouble that you have, Emily, it's fascinating to watch, is that when you have a black woman who is speaking her truth.
This is not about skin color, but color.
No, I'm just saying. Because everyone has this same, it's the same reverberation. When you have a black woman that's speaking her truth the way that she is, with the power that she is, with the education that she does, there's no comparison between Michelle Obama and Melania Trump. You want to talk about education level? You want to talk about job
attainment? I'm just not playing identity
No.
politics. I think Gavin Newsom's wife is an idiot too, and she's white.
We're not even talking about
of the country that happened. Yeah. Right. And we're in just a janky version, right?
Yeah, janky.
I'm in support of that.
Until the First Lady brought them back with her surprise statement last week.
How does this benefit?
I'm an actor.
Creative content.
Yeah, why are you not looking forward to the White House fight?
Well, it's kind of a gimmick.
I have 300.
In terms of welcoming her with open arms like Joy wants to do and give her a big bear hug, I'm not going to do that.
With her.
Well, I don't know. I just think that if you voted for Donald Trump 3 times, if you voted for him this last